Welcome, viewers, back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio, that is I, where no God is required for a life of love, joy, peace, fulfillment, meaning, and purpose in life. And the good life is one guided by reason and motivated by love. You know, today's topic is so deep and there's so much to talk about. I'm just going to kind of hit on a couple little high points here and there. I've struggled with the title because I don't want to just call it the 10 biblical commandments, but we're going to touch on that, and we're going to touch on a little bit of morality. I've been known as a moral philosopher or moralist from some Christians, and you know what? I guess I take that as a compliment. I'd rather push toward morality than amorality, without morality, with or without, or definitely immorality, right? I believe in making this world better every day, every way we can. And how I believe we can make this world better every day is to remove God belief from people's minds. And that's what I strongly believe as a former fundamentalist, evangelical, Christian preacher back in my younger years. I'm going to discuss the 10 Commandments today and morality. Just briefly, my job is to not get into the depths of this. There's so much to read and study on it. I just want you to begin to think, Christians, that there are those of us that are atheists that push for morality, and it's all within us as humans. You may have never heard this before, my religious friends, but there's a saying or a statement or belief, I should say, called the divine command theory. The divine command theory was a little argument or debate back from Socrates 2,500 years ago, recorded by Plato with another particular individual, that moral principles are simply the commands of God. This is a principle that most religious people adhere to, that your morality comes from a particular deity. This is called what I call religious morality. It's a code of ethics from the alleged commandments of a supernatural deity. In other words, you get your commands and goodness and morality and ethics from the commands of a God, versus the autonomy of ethics, where ethical behavior and morality are more inward, more subjective. It becomes objective once we agree about the well-being of human beings, and that's what morality is to me. Once we come to an agreement what is best for the group, our race, our species of human beings, Homo sapiens, we agree these particular things are moral. Rational morality is a code of ethics required by mankind for our survival, well-being, remember that, and happiness. We do that as humans. We don't need the divine command theory. We don't need a book like the Bible to tell us what is right and wrong. We have progressed, and morality does change at times based on culture, and we progress as human beings, knowing and understanding that it's all about the well-being of humanity. I'm going to touch also on moral capital. Moral capital, most Christians believe in. I used to preach it, and many Christians I debate, and many Christians I talk to, preachers as well, believe in moral capital. Moral capital simply means that there is a surplus of morality and ethical behavior, all given from the Christian message. And those of us that are atheists are living off the surplus and the capital of morality from the 10 Commandments and from the alleged commandments of this supernatural deity. And once this capital, once this surplus of morality and teaching and preaching from the Bible, once we use it up, it's going to be hell on earth, right? Satan's going to be released, and we're going to see all the plagues and all the horrific things the Bible talks about once we distinguish and once we use up the capital and the surplus of morality from the Christian God. Quite humorous to me. The 10 Commandments have been a guideline for Christianity and Islam and Judaism, I guess, especially Judaism and Christianity, for many, many years. I, as an atheist and a humanist, as a secularist, do not find a lot of morality in the 10 Commandments. I will agree with a few of them. So briefly, I've got my Bible here. I think we all know these. Let's go over them quickly. Number 1, you'll have no other gods beside me. How relevant is that to society today? 0. Thou shalt not make unto yourself any idols or graven images. 0. Do not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Boy, we really need that for societal health. No, we don't. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Again, irrelevant to societal health. Honor your father and your mother, commandment number 5. What happens if your father and mother are not honorable? Wonder if they're abusive, if they're diabolical human beings, if they're someone with a low MQ moral quotient, if they're immoral people. I don't think they deserve honor. Now, thou shalt not murder. Now, there's one I agree with. I think humanity, through the years and the evolution of the human species, we have learned for group cohesion and survival. Through evolution, we have learned not to kill each other. There have been prohibitions for thousands of years of other previous religions and groups and cultures. All you have to do is read anthropology and evolutionary psychology, and you'll see that we have learned as a human species, and other social species do the same thing. We have learned not to kill each other. Why? For the betterment of society and for the well-being of society. You will not commit adultery. Well, debatable there. For some people, adultery is good. For some people, they believe in open relationships. Now, I'm not an advocate of cheating on someone that you're committed relationship with, but that depends upon the individual. I think you leave that up to subjective morality on that particular one. Here's one I agree with. Thou shalt not steal. Very good one there, God. There's one I agree with. Actually, there's only 3 of them I think that are actually important to the well-being of human beings. Thou shalt not steal. Well, I think again, for group cohesion, group survival, the betterment of our species, and for the well-being of humanity, we know, and primitive people have known not to steal. That's why there are prohibitions in cultures and previous religions prior to Christianity about stealing. Thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which is thou shalt not lie. Again, I agree. I think for the well-being and the betterment of our society and for relationships, it's best to be honest and to be truthful. Number 10 on your list, you will not covet your neighbor's house or your neighbor's wife and all that, which would be called greed. Kind of hard to say that when so many Christians I know do attempt to make more money. They are covetousness. They promote this, increasing their wealth, increasing their goods and so forth. So I think this is almost irrelevant. I think the top 3 would be, of course, and the ones I agree with because it's all in us as humans, don't kill, don't steal, and don't lie. All good for well-being in society. Radio preachers list many immoralities in America. The other day I was listening to a preacher on the radio, as I do. It keeps me fired up. He listed immoralities, in his opinion, that America is full of right now, and how the Christian message of Jesus must eradicate these horrible immoralities in our country. His list was gambling. Boy, that's a tough one, huh? Alcohol abuse. Sex outside of marriage. Now, I will go on record saying, not just Christianity, but all religions distort human sexuality. Human sexuality is a beautiful thing. Human sexuality is a pleasurable thing. And it's a part of the undeveloped pleasures of humanity. We have developed pleasures and undeveloped pleasures. And there's a good balance between the two. Developed pleasures would be the appreciation of beauty in the arts, aesthetics. Studying moral philosophy is a developed pleasure. Being good to each other, things that bring you pleasure. There's also the undeveloped pleasure, the momentary pleasures, such as sex. It's a beautiful thing, it goes away. Eating a good fine meal and going out to a 5-star restaurant could be an undeveloped pleasure. So we need a balance between developed pleasures and undeveloped pleasures as human beings. Sex falls right in there. And there's nothing wrong with sex if it's consensual. So, to Christian preachers and Christianity, outside of sex, having marriage, if it's fornication or adultery, for some reason, that is offensive to your deity. Another immorality listed by this particular preacher in America was being gay. Not allowing gays to have rights. Well, how does that affect your life, my dear Christian friends, for people being who they are? for people living their life and having rights, individual rights, to speak, inform, and give opinions, and to be who they are, right? Love your life, live your life, do what you like, and like what you do. Be who you are. Another thing he said, listed on his list of immoralities in America, is drug abuse. Again, how does that affect you in your life if someone behind closed doors smokes a little thing called a plant, called marijuana? What's the difference of marijuana and coffee? I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet, but one's illegal and one is. All right. Not once. Now, this is what kind of ticks me off here. Not once did that preacher, and even more importantly than that, not once did the Christian deity, which I don't believe in, but not once is it mentioned in this book, in the Ten Commandments, of true immoralities, such as slavery. Wow, what a big one. There's not one mention in your book that is anti-slavery. For some reason, the Christian God did not say in the Ten Commandments, hey, what about this? Thou shalt not have slaves. Not mentioned in there. In fact, your book is full of slavery. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5, slaves, be obedient to your masters in everything. Colossians chapter 3, verse 22, slaves, in all things obey your masters. I see the Christian deity allowing these words to be written, if you believe in this God. My question to you, my dear Christian friend, why would a moral, ethical God allow these words to be written in this book that you believe is written from God, and written by Paul the Apostle, these particular scriptures? Why would not your God have said, oops, my bad, let's eradicate slavery from the Bible, and let's put it in the list of the Ten Commandments? 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 1. I got to read this for you here. This is unbelievable. And yes, it's right here. All who are under the yoke as slaves are to regard their own masters as worthy of all honor, so that the name of God and our doctrine will not be spoken against. Right there in your book. Titus chapter 2, verse 9, another book written by Paul the Apostle to the young preacher Titus. Urge your slaves to be subject to their own masters in everything, to be well-pleasing, not argumentative, but showing all good faith, so that they will adorn the doctrine of God our Savior in every respect. There you have it. Your book does not condemn slavery, but it condones it, and actually says nothing about removing slavery and nothing about how immoral slavery is. We, as a human species, have figured this out before your God has, which you believe in. Let's move along. Not once did your book condemn rape. You would think that the God of the Bible would have wrote in the book, thou shalt not rape. Which brings me to the story in the book of Genesis chapter 19. The man Lot, his wife, and 2 daughters. Lot, the Bible says in Genesis chapter 19, was a very righteous, upright, standing man of God. He was Abraham's nephew. God was going to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah because they were evil. There were a bunch of homosexuals in that city, having sex and enjoying life. So God was displeased and pissed off, and he wanted to warn Lot and Lot's wife and his 2 lovely daughters to leave Sodom and Gomorrah, so that he, the loving God, could send down fire and brimstone from heaven and consume and destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. I forgot to mention, the book did say, thou shalt not kill, but then again, it's okay because God did it and said it. So 2 angels of the Lord were sent, allegedly, wink wink, to Lot to warn them and to escape the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah before the Christian God destroyed all the sinners in the city. So 2 angels allegedly were sent in human form, anthropomorphic, to the cities, went into Lot's door, knocking on the door, and lo and behold, all these evil, diabolical sinners in Sodom and Gomorrah wanted to, rape these 2 angels. So Lot understood what was going on, ran out to them and said, no, to the crowd, do not take these two men and my visitors to rape. Instead, since I'm such a moral, righteous man of God, I've got my two lovely daughters here. How about you take my two daughters and do what you will with them? Take advantage of my two daughters. In other words, rape my daughters. Now, I'm a parent. I've got a 31-year-old daughter and a 29-year-old son here in the year 2016, and two lovely grandchildren. I, as a dad and a father of a daughter, that's got to be the most brutal thought in my head to ever think about, is someone touching my daughter that way. All of you fathers out there understand what I'm talking about. If you have daddy's little girl out there, well, this moral man who loved the Christian God, the God of Judaism and Christianity, turned his daughters over to be raped. Doesn't sound very moral to me. I'm going to end here in a few minutes. I'm trying to keep it short today. I wanted to discuss just the bare minimum of this moral philosophy, of the divine command theory, of the autonomy of ethics, of moral capital, of religious morality versus rational morality. For those of you that are listening that still adhere and hold on to the God of the Bible, go back and read the Ten Commandments. Put your thinking caps on. Tell me, do you think God could have put and substituted some of these commands with something a little more moral, like thou shalt not have slaves, thou shalt not rape, thou shalt not commit atrocities and molest little boys and girls? In fact, the Bible story kills me. I think it was the 2 Kings, where Elijah the prophet was walking down the road, and there were about, 42 or 43 young boys mocking him and calling him bald head. That's what little boys do. Hey, Baldy, hey, Baldy. That's what boys do, children do. The Bible says Elijah, I forgot if it's Elisha or Elijah, either way, turned to the children and cursed the children in the name of the Lord. And God sent out 2 she-bears from the woods. She-bears, that's right, Mark. Thank you very much. I got an audience in the back. Send those she-bears out and maul those kids because they disrespected the man of God. Wow, what a moral book you have here, my dear Christian friends. So, you better start praying, asking your God to rewrite this book. Let's make it a little bit moral. But you know what? It's too late. The majority of us out here that are free thinkers, we once were a part of this book called the Bible. We once believed it was a moral guideline. We once believed in the divine command theory. And now we are adhering to the autonomy of ethics and rational morality, progressing and moving on. And you, my dear religious friends, can let go of this book and live a life of freedom, and live a life of love and happiness and joy and moral and ethical behavior. You can be a moral philosopher, if you like. You can present love and kindness and moral and ethical behavior to others without adhering to this book. Well, it's been done by many of us, and I will continue to preach that you don't need belief in your God or anybody else's God to be moral, to be ethical. I'm not talking about perfection. I do not claim to be perfect. I'm far from it. But I can tell you this, that my desire to do good, personally, my little anecdotal evidence here, has increased since I let go of Christianity and God belief over 25 years ago. Quite the conundrum to those of you that still believe in God. Well, thank you for watching the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. Remember, to be moral, to be good, you don't need to follow this book. Use your mind, my dear Christian friends. Use your subjective morality, bring it out to objective reality when we come to an understanding of the well-being for humanity and we progress on. Thank you for watching and have a